Hey everybody, it is You Had to Ask, the show where I answer your questions, and this week my first question comes to me from Hominid Interneticus, who says, what other college major would you add if you had the chance to enroll again on a college grant? I majored in music studies, but by mere happenstance and trial by fire ended up doing extremely technical work. If I had to do it over again having the confidence I have now, I'd pick electronic engineering. If you had to do it over, would you choose English as a major, knowing what you know now? I think I probably would. I think I was supposed to be an English major. I don't think I would go for something else. I might try to take more film classes. I mean, or maybe go to a university that had a slightly more robust film program, so that I could study cinema a little bit more in college. But no, I'm happy being an English major. I was happy to go for English. I don't think it is something I would want to change. It suits me, and it suits my level of skill and my level of intelligence. I tell people all the time that I'm pretty much a perfect English major because I'm not actually all that smart. But because I went to college as an English major, I can sound real smart. You can, and that's the real value of an English degree. Is even more so, I would say, even more so than a communications degree, because when you study English, you study English culture and English literature, and you have all these references you can make, and you can sound real smart. And that's the true value of an English degree, is to make yourself sound far more intelligent than you actually are. And I like being able to do that. I like being able to put up a front and to be a huge phony. So I would go back, I would still be an English major, I think, if I had to do it over again. Zachary Windsor, question, beyond what supports an afterlife and beyond any particular religion that believes in one, isn't believing in one at all beneficial? If anything, does it not at least comfort a person's fear of death, non-existence, and straight-up pointlessness in life? I say pointlessness because what's the point of striving for good if you won't be able to be rewarded or feel accomplished of later on? Well, that sounds an awful lot like the argument that lots of Christians make, and Christian apologists make the argument very often. I've encountered it in several of the books I've done an atheist reads analyses on. This argument from consequences, like, well, if there is no afterlife, if you don't live forever, then nothing you do means anything. As though, first of all, if you even accept that that's true, as though that therefore means there must be an afterlife. It can't possibly be all meaningless like this. There must be an afterlife. I would argue that just because you don't live forever and just because your actions do not have eternal consequences, either for eternal rewards or eternal punishments, that doesn't mean that your actions are meaningless, and it doesn't mean that there's no reason for you to strive to do things and to invest great meaning and great value in the things that you do and the things that you have and the people that you love in your life. I completely reject this notion that, well, if something doesn't last forever, then it has no value, then it's worthless, and we shouldn't attach any importance to it. I think that's completely silly and counterintuitive, given the fact that nothing lasts forever. Why should forever be the standard that we follow to attach value to things? Why should something only be valuable if it lasts forever when literally nothing lasts forever? Our planet, our star, our solar system, perhaps even the universe itself, at least as we know it, will not be here forever. So it makes no sense at all to judge things as not lasting forever, as not really having any actual value. That's utterly absurd to me. As for the comfort factor, is it better to believe in an afterlife because it comforts us? I mean, I guess that just depends on how tolerant you are of false comfort. I don't like false comfort. I don't like it for myself, and I don't like to offer it to other people. I think it's better to face reality and to reconcile yourself to reality as it actually is, at least as far as you can tell, as it is as far as you can determine it. As opposed to comforting yourself with pleasing fictions. I just don't think that's the way to go. I would rather know the truth and come to accept it and come to reconcile myself to that than to comfort myself by believing in something that I kind of know isn't really true, that I'm just believing it because it makes me feel better. I mean, maybe I think that the existence of Santa Claus and the Easter Bunny makes the world a more wonderful, magical place. Maybe I should believe in that too. You know, maybe I think if I maybe the world will be a better place if I really believe that there is a pot of gold at the end of every rainbow. Maybe I'll believe that. That's comforting to me. I have no reason to. I'm pretty sure it's false. There's no evidence to suggest that it's true at all. We have lots of explanations for what rainbows actually are and where they come from that do not include pots of gold at the end of them. But yeah, I just think it would be just better. It's just nicer to believe in that sort of world. So I'll believe in that. I just don't think that's a healthy thing to do. Dr. Plagueweather. Someone has suggested that you don't believe there are radical feminists. These would be feminists with ideas and suggestions that, while in the same line of thinking with feminism, are unreasonable extremes, and that shouldn't be taken as a normal part of feminist thought. You acknowledge that there are radical feminists, right? Sure. I mean, it depends on your definition of radical feminist. I mean, actually, if we go by the definition that you give in your question and the definition that it seems like most people online who talk about radical feminists or radical feminism are talking about that sort of thing. Yeah, by that definition, it would almost have to be. I mean, any political movement, any philosophical movement would have outliers, would have extremists, would have people who are on the edge and their beliefs do not represent the mainstream opinion of the group. So yeah, of course, and under that definition, yes, of course there are radical feminists. And the more traditional definition of radical feminists, the definition that I think most people who would self-identify as radical feminists is not quite the same thing. It means more feminists who place a great deal of their focus on the idea of patriarchy and the idea of male suppression or male supremacy, I should say, a male supremacy as a source of oppression in society. That traditionally, I think, is what people refer to when they're talking about radical feminism. It's that particular view of feminism where male supremacy and patriarchy is of utmost importance and utmost focus. And by that definition, there are certainly radical feminists. Safety off. Hey Steve, just finished your series on A Case for Christ. Awesome job, and thanks for your time and opinions. I was indoctrinated from an early age on what to believe and not to question or doubt. I'm older now and a beginner to skepticism with what I believe and why I believe what I do. What ways have you found to help you be able to think critically or be more skeptical? Are there areas to avoid when using skepticism? Thanks again for all you do. Well, first of all, thank you for watching that An Atheist Reads The Case for Christ series, and I'm glad that it's been of use to you. I just got another private message from someone else who also just finished watching that series and found it useful and helpful to them, and that really makes me happy because that was the first An Atheist Reads series that I did. And it's probably, even though I don't think it's the most viewed, it's probably the one that I hear the most messages like this about, of people saying, you know, I read this book, or my parents made me read this book, or whatever, and you know, your series really helped me to sort of put my own thoughts in order about it. So that really makes me feel good. And by the way, for those of you wondering, the next An Atheist Reads series does begin in January. So look for that, those of you who like the An Atheist Reads series. And the book is going to be God's Not Dead by Rice Brooks. So that will be the next An Atheist Reads starting in January. I think the first Thursday in January, I think. Now, as for tricks to use or tips to use for how to be a better skeptic, how to use skepticism in your life, I mean, I think when you say being skeptical about what you believe and why you believe it, that's pretty much it, as far as I can tell, as far as I'm concerned. Ask yourself why you believe what you believe. Ask yourself if this is a justified belief. You know, look for evidence, look for reasons, audit your own beliefs. Seek out the beliefs of people with contrary beliefs. You know, that's one of the things that the An Atheist Reads series is about. That's one of the fundamental principles of it. One of the main reasons why I do it, just for my own sake, for my own use, to read what a Christian apologist says, to read what the arguments from the other side are, so I can understand them, so I can know them, so I can not just know why I disagree with them, but so I can know what they think and what they believe and why. It helps encourage understanding between people who disagree, which is a good thing. And it helps me understand what people who disagree with me think and why, and therefore it also helps me to understand why I think what I think. So just being questioning and being skeptical of what you believe and looking for reasons and looking for evidence, that's pretty much it. Christy Winters, hey Steve, here is a question for you. Is the future of cutting-edge entertainment in television rather than film? I see some pretty complicated characters in network shows popping up. I've been impressed with James Spader's performance in The Blacklist. I see strong, more realistic women characters in shows like Elementary, which also deals with drug addiction. Where do writers today have more scope to take risks and create thoughtful, adult, grown-up, not X-rated content? In film or in television? Well, I think it's in television. Honestly, I think it's been that way for quite a while. It's been that way for this century so far, I would say. And actually, one of my favorite things to study and to think about and to watch is TV from the golden age of television, from the 50s on up through the early 60s. And there are a lot of parallels between the power and influence of the writer from that golden era and today. If you look at the influence of people like David Milch or David Simon or Aaron Sorkin or Matthew Weiner, the really high profile, influential creators of some of the most popular TV shows on right now or from the last few years. It's very, very analogous to the great writers of the 50s and 60s. It's sort of like things have come full circle, where the writer, because of multiple cable outlets, because of having networks and cable channels being more willing to cater to niche audiences, not always swinging for the fences, but being more happy with finding a smaller but much more loyal and reliable audience for a show or for a channel. You're seeing a lot more opportunity for writers with really strong points of view, with really bold ideas, to get their foot in the door and to really put their stamp on something. And it still happens in movies. It happens in movies, but the thing is, people don't usually see those movies. I mean, there's still such a thing as independent film in the United States. There is still a very robust, creatively exciting independent film scene, but those movies don't really get much cultural attention. Breaking Bad, Mad Men, Walking Dead. You mentioned The Blacklist. You mentioned Elementary. I would throw in, even from, the like Deadwood and Treme. I mean, shows that are really driven by a showrunner's point of view, by a writer's point of view. The Wire would be an obvious one as well. That people watch, that drive the cultural conversation, that are topics of conversation all around the country and are a part of our common shared experience in a way that independent film just isn't. So yeah, in terms of not only the opportunity to make a difference and really get your point of view and get your stories told, but also the opportunity to have real important cultural prominence as a writer, it's definitely TV, far more so than film. Hal 9000, most of the content I see you make is these Q&A videos, 5 stupid things, and here's the good news. But why don't you make content similar to, say, Jacqueline Glenn or Cult of Dusty, as in they make response videos to religious stuff? Why don't you do that? Well, I think the An Atheist Reads series is sort of my version of that. I'm responding to apologetics books. And occasionally I'll do a video, a more typically atheist YouTube video. Like a couple weeks ago I did a response video to the 10 questions for every atheist from a Christian website. And I've done things like that here and there in the past, if you look at my older content. But, I mean, if other people are doing it, why should I do it? Why would I want to do a version of what other people are already doing. I would rather do things that I feel I can add something new and something different and something of my own personality and my own point of view to. I mean, I've done those videos before. Every once in a while I get an itch to do those sorts of things, and I do. And I mean, I don't think I'm bad at it. I think I do them in my own way, in my own voice, and I think they're fine. But if I did those all the time, I feel like my channel and my output would start to seem a lot more like other people's output. And what good does that do me? Brandon Fan. Hi Steve, new sub here. There seems to be a rather small diversity problem in the atheist community. FYI, I'm a 19-year-old guy, white/Asian. Where white or Asian men in their 20s are more likely to identify as atheist than women or other racial minorities. For women specifically, I fear that part of the problem stems from some atheist men being openly anti-feminist and therefore force some women to shy away from it. And for racial minorities specifically, I feel as though they don't have enough people or role models to resonate within the community. I know we have Neil deGrasse Tyson as someone openly secular, but he prefers to identify as agnostic. My question is, what are thoughts or opinions on diversity specifically within this community? Do you think there are problems that need to be addressed? Well, yes, I think there are, but I would add very quickly before I get further into this question that there are diversity problems in lots of different communities. I don't think it's uniquely an atheist community problem, that it's mostly youngish white guys. I don't think it's, I think it's, that's a problem. That's a problem with America. That's a problem with American culture, that it is mostly dominated by the likes and dislikes and the whims of white heterosexual men. But I do think it is a problem, and I do think you're onto something with your explanations for why not as many women feel comfortable coming out openly, publicly, energetically as atheists, and why people of color might feel the same way. With women, I know personally in the last year or so, since I started being more outspoken and speaking out more frequently about my feelings about feminism and my support for feminism and my support for women's issues, I've gotten lots of private messages on YouTube, on Facebook, on Twitter, from women who say that one of the reasons why they don't take a more active role in the community is because they feel like they're not welcome. Because, unfortunately, some of the most popular YouTubers, atheist YouTubers, are stridently anti-feminist and are stridently sexist and very hostile. Either they themselves or their fans, their audience members, are very hostile to women and to women who have a pro-feminist point of view. And that's a shame. That's a real shame, and it's something that I hope in my own small, insignificant way I can push back against, and that means something to me. When someone writes me a message and says, you know, I had almost given up on the atheist YouTube community, and then I watched your videos, and it just was nice to see a man make a video that was pro-feminist. That means something to me. I like hearing that. I don't know that I make that much of a difference because I just don't have that large of an audience. I don't have that big of a footprint in the atheist community on YouTube. But it means something to me to hear that, and it's important to me, and it makes me feel like it's something that I need to keep doing. It is definitely a problem, and as to what's to be done about it, you know, your guess is as good as mine. I guess we all just have to be conscious of it and mindful of it and try to do what little we can. I'll tell you this, it's not something that will be fixed quickly. And something else that probably won't be as quick as you might think it would be from just the name of it is coming up next. And I, of course, am referring to
the lightning round. Rapid fire questions, glib and adequate answers.
Jay Lebrecq, if you had to direct a Bible story, which one would it be? I would pick Esther or Judges 19. I would love to do Job. I would love to do like the least pious telling of Job ever. That would be a lot of fun. Francois Lacombe, Steve, what's the deal with your channel avatar picture? You look like you are either about to die of laughter, are in the throes of most abject despair, or are having your balls ripped off. That's a very extreme and ambiguous picture you have there. That is actually me. Your closest guess is the first one. I am actually in medieval cackle. I'm doing a really evil, exaggerated laugh, which I did for my friend Jason Brenet for his very excellent album, Alcohol and Isolation, which you should Google and buy right now if you haven't. But you can hear my evil laugh on that on one of the songs. That's why I did that. That was me doing that laugh. Troubleshooter 125. You need me to ask you a question, eh? Okay. Why? So I can answer it in this video. Silly. Crocmaster McGeezax. So, Steve, how do you feel about the work of Mike Stoklasa / Red Letter Media? Always been curious, since I know you dislike the prequels. I think Red Letter Media is brilliant. I love the Plinkett reviews, and that reminds me, I need to catch up on Half in the Bag. I haven't been watching Half in the Bag lately. I need to catch up on that. But yeah, the Plinkett reviews, I mean, specifically the most popular ones, the Star Wars prequel reviews, are just brilliant. They are incredibly, incredibly funny, and they're also really sharp, insightful film criticism. I love them. I love them. American Slime. Hey, Steve, who's your favorite comic book artist right now? I'm pretty hung up on Frank Quitely at the moment. Oh, boy. It's tough to beat that. Frank Quitely doing Superman is one of my all-time favorite things. I just think that it doesn't get much better than that. But if I'm not going to pick Frank, I would pick either Jonathan Case, who has done some work on the Batman 66 series, the digital comic series that they're doing, that has just been awesome, or Cliff Chang, who has done some Batman stuff and also did Wonder Woman recently. And actually, I kind of know Cliff. He and I went to the same Batman chat room like 15 years ago. I'm sure he doesn't remember me. We haven't been in contact in years and years and years. But I remember Cliff from back in the day, and it's so thrilling to know that he's found such success as an artist. He's great. Cliff will probably never see this, but I remember you, Cliff, and good on you, buddy. You're fucking great. Old Comic One. Once again, have you watched Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and what do you think of it? Yeah, I watch it every week. I don't miss it. It's always in my Hulu queue. And I like it. Actually, I like it better this season than I liked it last season, and I liked it really well last season. A lot of people complained that it was boring or that it didn't have enough Marvel superhero stuff in it last year. I always liked it. I thought it kind of reminded me of like an old school throwback 80s adventure show, and I liked it last year, and I like it this year too. It's a good show, a really fun show. Warp Rules. Freddie Mercury, Elvis Presley, or Louis Armstrong. You can only pick one. I gotta go with Freddie. Second place would be Louis, and part of me wants to say Louis as opposed to Freddie, but by the time I discovered Louis and first heard his music, Freddie already had me. Hugh Jass. How many books by Carl Sagan have you read? What's your favorite of his? Let's see. I've read Broca's Brain. I've read Cosmos. I've read Pale Blue Dot. I've read Demon Haunted World. I've read Billions and Billions. I think those are the 5 that I've read. And my favorite is Demon Haunted World, one of my favorite books ever. Joseph Fopiano. Hey, Steve, what is your position on the legalization of marijuana for recreational use? Have you ever used it? Joe. My position on it is legalize it and tax the shit out of it. But no, I have never used it myself. I've never wanted to use it. I have no intention of ever using it. But my position is decriminalize it, pretty much treat it like we treat alcohol and tobacco. Legalize it for adults and tax the shit out of it. Daniel Dano Sheehan. Choose Fritz Lang or Leni Riefenstahl, Sam Peckinpah or Quentin Tarantino, John Wayne or Clint Eastwood. I choose Lang, Peckinpah, and Eastwood. And if you're curious, the only one that was really tough for me was Peckinpah or Tarantino. The others are really easy. And I love John Wayne and I love Tarantino and I respect Leni Riefenstahl even though I'm troubled by her Nazi sympathies. But yeah, Lang, Peckinpah, and Eastwood is what I would go with those. Easy. Hey, that's it for the lightning round. It actually didn't take so fucking long this time, did it? It feels like it didn't. Maybe it did. I don't know. I was on the inside. Maybe to you on the outside, it felt like it took longer. But anyway, that's it for the lightning round. That's it for the questions. Before I go, I'm going to do a shout out, as always. And the shout out this week, very, very deserving, goes to Prototype Atheist. Prototype Atheist does videos on creationism and evolution. He he has a really great video actually that I just watched the other day that he put up a few months ago that I finally got around to watching about, it's called Do Secularists Pick on Christians While Coddling Muslims? And it's about the perception that some Christians have that atheists and secular people are always picking on Christians and always criticizing Christianity, but they're never talking about Islam and they're never picking on Muslims the same way they pick on Christianity. And he has a great video on that subject where he basically says that what they're actually seeing is they are interpreting a lack of favoritism for their religion as favoritism for someone else's religion, when in fact it's just atheists not favoring Christianity over other religions. Really, really good video. And just a great channel overall. Prototype Atheist. Highly, highly recommended. Check out his channel. Also, another announcement. This weekend, this Sunday, will be my third Patreon hangout. For those of you who support my Patreon campaign, and thank you very much, I love you if you do, the third hangout will be this Sunday, November 30th, starting at noon Eastern. And again, the deal for those Patreon hangouts, for those of you who don't know, is they stream live. They're live Google Plus hangouts. Anybody can watch. They stream live on my channel starting at noon Eastern on Sunday for an hour. And anybody can watch, but if you are a Patreon patron, about 10 minutes before showtime, go to my Patreon page and check my activity feed, because there will be a link that only patrons can see that will allow you to join me live in the hangout. So you can be on the air with me, we can talk and hang out for an hour. It'll be a lot of fun. Last time we had a full house. There were like 10 people in there. It was a great time, a great conversation. We had a lot of fun. And hopefully you guys who are not Patreon patrons of mine will do me the honor of watching. And those of you who are Patreon patrons or have been considering becoming patrons will take that leap and donate to my Patreon campaign, and you can join me on the air. Again, that's this Sunday, November 30th, starting at noon Eastern time. So I hope you can watch, and I hope those of you who support my Patreon campaign will join me on the air. It was tons of fun last time. I'm sure it'll be tons of fun this time too. And one last piece of business. Many of you may know Schizophrenic Queen. She's a fellow YouTuber of mine. She's a wonderful part of our YouTube atheist community. Unfortunately, sadly, her mother is very sick, and she doesn't have enough means on her own to go and visit her mother. She wants to go see her mother in her illness. And a friend of Schizophrenic Queen's has started an Indiegogo page to raise some money so that Schizophrenic Queen and Tinky can go take the trip and Schizophrenic Queen can see her mother. So those of you who know Queenie, if you watch Jason with the D's Friday Funhouse webcasts every Friday night, you've probably seen her on those. And if you can help, it would be a wonderful thing. There'll be a link to the Indiegogo page in the description box of this video. Please click on it. Please donate a few bucks if you can afford it. Share it to people if you can't afford to donate yourself. It's a wonderful cause. And let's see if we can raise some money to get Queenie enough so she can afford to go see her mom. I think that would be great. So that's it for You Had to Ask this week. That's it for the questions. That's it for the shout outs. I'm just done talking to you people. I love you. You're great. I have nothing but respect and appreciation for you, but I'm just done. And my wife is done too. She cleared her throat. That means it's time to stop doing this video. So I'm going to stop. I will see you guys next week. I will answer more of your questions, as many of them as I possibly can. I promise. So leave me a question for next time. Leave a comment on this video with your question for next time. Ask me anything about anything. Nothing is too serious. Nothing is too silly. I'll answer as many as possible next time. And until next time, take care, everybody. I'll see you.